Okay. Little one okay? Okay. So this is a long-awaited video. A lot of you have been pestering me about my new rather silly purchase. So let's get down to it, shall we? This is a brand new 2022 model Yamaha R7. However, there's a few little... Daddy's bike. However, I made a few different tweaks. Now, I was one of the first people in the country to buy this bike. In fact, no, I was the first person. As such, I got a 10% discount, which this makes it one of the cheapest R7s in the world. It's almost as cheap as it is in Japan. I think that works out to about $9,000 US, which is crazy cheap for Thailand for a sports bike. Now, some of you are going to argue with me. Okay, I've got a history of this bike. I used to have an MT-07 before, and I freaking loved it. But there was one major problem. And that major problem was here. This little bugger. The front end on the MT-07 is a travesty. It is awful. No matter, and the brakes as well. The brakes and the front suspension are just absolute crap. And I can say that because I spent a fortune in putting Öhlins internals, the whole kit inside the front end, putting heavyweight oil, putting Brembo pads, braided hell lines. I uprated the rear shock. I put a Prokovich exhaust system and a stage 2 DNA filter, which made it really powerful. Actually, it made 80 wheel horsepower and it sounded bloody brilliant. But the front end was so bad, I nearly died a couple of times because it just wouldn't stop, and it was still like a pogo stick. No matter how much I ended up adjusting, because with the Öhlins, I mean, this is not an MT-07, but with the Öhlins you get these extra tops which you can just about make up on here, and I had to dial them all the way down. It was just shite, and that's actually why I got rid of the bike, because it just, as much fun as it was to ride, and the punchy power and the delivery and the comfort, it couldn't make up for the fact that it rode like crap. Now, you are probably starting to notice that this doesn't look like a brand new bike. Right, what's the story? I was the first person to put a deposit on an R7 in Thailand. That is actually a fact. However, I wasn't the first person to take delivery due to the fact that I wanted a black one, and the blue ones came about 2 weeks before the others, and so everyone got their blues before me, and I was just waiting, and you can put that down to COVID and shipping delays, and that actually leads me to another interesting fact. This bike is a JDM spec. It's a full Japanese import. Thailand gets Japanese imports, which is bloody brilliant, because they usually don't have Euro 5 nonsense. Disappointingly, this does have Euro 5, and you notice it. I notice it because I had the previous gen, which isn't really previous gen because it's actually kind of in line with this one, which is a 2019 MT. Well, that's a MT-15, but it's now a 190cc with a big head, and it makes about 28 horsepower at the wheels, but I digress. So it's got like a woolly mid-range, which isn't so bad like it is on Ducatis, but it's noticeable for me compared to the original. Right, so what is special about my one? Well, I wanted the black one because the blue ones come with blue wheels. If you look closely, forgive the lighting because it's bloody sunny and I try to shade it. The black model comes with black wheels, and so if I want to do the Kenny Roberts Rossi GP replica, I had to get the black model because I always intended to make this the 2010 50th anniversary Rossi rep. I also put a titanium SE project. Actually, in fact, I didn't want a titanium. I ordered a stainless. You can actually see it right here. It's very pretty, and it's got a little twirl over here, which is just like the Prokovich, and this actually causes a lot of headaches because it doesn't just fit. If you get in close here, you can see that it doesn't line up properly, and I can't fit the other spring. In fact, it actually hits against there. right there. Can you see? And we had to like bodge a mount going across there, which sometimes hits that as well. And that's due to the fact that even though it's exactly the same as MT-07 up to about here, everything around here is different because of the clip-ons, and the exhaust hanger is different. Now if you go and whack a MT-07 exhaust on, it will fit 90%, but you're going to have an issue with the swing arm because the mount is different, and a lot of the time the exhaust will hit. I can feel this is a little bit loose. Can you see that? Anyway, so I bought this. I never even ran it with a single mile with the original exhaust because it sounds like shite. So I put a full titanium exhaust system, and the reason why it's titanium is because they ran out of stainless, and I got a free upgrade, which I didn't really want because it doesn't really match it, but it weighs absolutely nothing. So I've lost like 5 kilos off the bike. We still got this hideous thing here. I will change it. Now, I've done some interesting things. Now, this is a wrap. It's not a paint job, and it costs very little to do here. And it's a good thing because, you know, you scratch your bike and stuff, and it's very cheap to replace. I mean, this cost me about $250 to have it wrapped like this, completely custom. I designed the whole thing, and I did it in a trolling way, because if you look a little bit closer, yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. That does say Yamama. And just to annoy the purists, yes, OA free. It's not even close to the original R7. And I've added a few little features. So this is a Rossi rep of the Kenny Roberts homage. But I took all the Rossi stuff off and replaced it with something that shows my age, which is the Yamama, which is an 80s joke, Neo Geo. Then you go 80s, 90s, and a nice little Neo Geo logo there. My old number that I used to use, 47, not 46. There's a story behind that. I won't go into it. As I say, the bike is brand new. If you look at the tyres, I've still got the colours on there. And if you want a reason why, it's you. You take up all my time, don't you? So I don't get to ride it much. But anyway, original exhaust sounds like absolute crap. But now, you can actually check out the mileage on here. Yeah, 31 Celsius. Yeah, with high humidity. I've done 66 kilometers on it, so it's not even running. But it sounds pretty epic. Now, due to the way the exhaust is fitted, when you put your foot here, it kind of rests against that. Luckily, it mostly rests against the carbon, so you don't get any melting here. I'm not a fan of it. Now, there's nothing wrong with the front exhaust system. It's titanium and it's got the curve. I am going to junk this and have another pipe come all the way up. Probably remove these pillion pegs. Got no intention of putting a pillion on there. I believe these just unscrew. We'll find out. And I'm going to have like it go up here like a GP bike. I may even do a twin outlet where I have another one come on the other side where it's short and then this one's long, if it doesn't affect performance. Now, what everyone keeps asking me, and what some arsehole on YouTube stole from my Instagram and it's got thousands of views on it, this is what it really sounds like with a Rode microphone. Now the ECU has not been flashed, so it's kind of weird because it runs a little bit rich on idle, but when you're going it's lean. Now that little kind of resonance that you hear is the fact that the exhaust oh my god, that's loud. It's really loud. And Whew, smells. I got another over here. Now the great thing about this is you get a Brembo master cylinder. You get radial brakes. You get it's either 41 or 43mm forks. They are fantastic. They are fully adjustable. You have, now this is rebound, and this is compression, and these are preload. I haven't messed with that yet. They do need adjustment. Handlebars are a little bit low for me, I'll be honest. I have stuck an R6 windscreen. Just so you know, the R6 windscreen fits. They've got really cool daytime rain lights. I don't know if you know, I've got like a yellow filter there to coincide with the yellow. Do you like that? That's Daddy's camera. It's only got a few little tweaks to go. I need to get a GPS holder. Because I don't know where I'm going, and Bangkok is, well, Thailand is just horrific to get around with. Even with GPS, it's a nightmare. But all in all, this is the MT-07 done proper. I love the MT-07. The only problem was with the suspension and handling, really. And you can buy this for about let's think about it. About $1,000 more, you get this, which is a fully tricked out MT-07, and it just fixes all the problems. However, it's not as hoonable. You see, with the upright riding position of the MT, it just hoons and wheelies everywhere. But because on this, you're sat down on a sports bike, leaning forwards. Oh, you can't see because I've got no camera lady, and the little one over there isn't very trustworthy of a camera. But because you're right down, all your weight is leaning forwards. So yeah, I mean, it pulls up in first, but it doesn't do the first, second punchy wheelie madness stunt bike nonsense like the MT does, which is a little bit of a letdown. And this is something I always complained about with the MT, is that the only thing that lets the MT down is the front end. And of course this front end fixes that, and I just wish to transplant this onto the MT, and then you have the perfect middleweight bike. Now it makes 72 horsepower at the wheel. If you do this exhaust, an ECU flash, and you do something to the airbox, you can get 80 wheel plus. I know that because I made over 80 wheel. The rear shock has got rebound adjustment too. If I can show you, it's like that on the later gens as well. But if you see that little gold adjuster there, that does the rebound. But to be honest, the rear shock is done perfectly. From the factory, it comes with super sticky, is it S22s? Or R22s? I forget the name. But really good tyres. The clutch is incredibly lovely. I don't have a quick shifter because I'm old school and I don't like them. I prefer to shift by myself. I need to get rid of this. As I say, no one's released one over here yet. They will be everywhere for buttons soon, like they always are in Thailand. But it's my unique twist on the R7, and this is just to piss people off. I actually had the pleasure of riding an 002 back in the day, and we're going back 15 years ago, maybe more, 2004, 17 years ago, my god. And I remember that being crap because it made 100 horsepower and it didn't make a lot of it anywhere. It was slower than the R6 at the time, and I just thought, what a piece of crap. But of course that was because it was restricted. So who is this bike for? Well, it's for people like me. I mean, I just came from a B King with 230 horsepower, and it's just too much. But this, you can just thrash the living bejesus out of this everywhere, and you're not going to kill yourself. It will wheelie on command quite easily. It's very torquey, very punchy. So it's like this weird combination. If you're old enough to remember, it's the 400s, the Japanese imports. It's the size and feel of a 400 and the lightness of a 400, because it's around 880 kilos, especially after losing about 5 off here in the exhaust. And it makes a little bit more peak power, but also it's just got a crap ton of torque. You don't need to rev it. You can be in any gear and it just goes, and it just sounds phenomenal. They're very reliable. They look they look so trick. And so you're thinking, who's this for? And I say, this is for people that are going from like a 300. This is a good stepping stone. You are not going to be really wanting much power than this in the real world unless you're like really gunning it on like track days. But even then, on track days, this thing handles like it's like a superbike. It really does. It handles beautifully, considering the fairly budget setup for the suspension and the fact that it just reuses the MT-07 steel frame, which is hidden. They added these alloy plates here to stiffen it up, and it is stiff. There's no flex like there is on the MT, and I love it. And yeah, you may have noticed that, I mean, this has got a lot of carbon build up already, because it shoots out flames, which is bloody hilarious. And it just comes down to, do you want a fast bike slow, or do you want a slow bike fast? And actually, to say this is a slow bike isn't fair, because it's not slow. This will really surprise you, especially from a dig. First gear to second gear in this will surprise a lot of big bikes. The power delivery of this down low it feels like a bike that's double the size. And if I was to compare how the power's delivered and how much torque it makes, it feels like an old Monster 1100, and I know because I had one. And so it feels like one of those, but more sporty, and it looks cool. I mean, check out the front end. It's got this lovely M shape. Just look at that. It just looks great. A lot of you won't like the whole Yamama. It's a joke. A lot of you won't like the OA3. It's a joke. Sarcastic joke, because there's nothing OA about it. But as a city sports bike, as an all-rounder that can do everything, it is absolutely perfect. It's not too powerful. It is very light. It's very forgiving with the gears. I don't even see why you need a quick shifter on this. They supply one, but I just don't see the point, because you don't hammer through the gears like it's a 4-cylinder and you've got to be in the power band. The power band is all down low. By 10k it's out of puff. So quick shifter is, to me, I mean, I've never liked quick shifters. I mean, I change gear very, very quickly anyway. Not to sound like I'm boasting, I've been riding bikes for over 20 years, and I can fire out a gear change just as fast as some amateur on a quick shifter. It's just a great bike, and it's very skinny. It's actually narrower than an R3. It's just a fantastic bike. And I'm going to delve into this deeper and deeper, because there's a few little things I want to do. I've got to do the ECU. I've got to change this, and I'm going to make this longer. This is important. A lot of guys don't seem to get this. If you're doing an exhaust on an MT, you want the curve version, because it makes more torque, and torque is what it's all about. If you just got straight, you lose a lot of that bottom end. I found that out before with the original MT, and so I'm thinking, if I can extend the pipe out just a little bit further up towards the pegs, replace the pegs with a hanger, you got yourself all that length, a lot of flow, and probably a better sound. Because at the moment it's got like a clap sound, and I want more of a bong sound. But yeah, another thing that surprised me is that even the rear master cylinder is a Brembo. However, the rear calipers are Nissan, and of course the front calipers are Yamaha's own that come from the MT-09, XSR9, etc, etc. But yeah, that's my replacement for the Beaking. A third of the power, half of the weight. It's just great. And in Thailand, it makes a lot of financial sense. 300,000 gets you nothing here, really, unless you're buying used. You can get like a ZX25R for like 20,000 less, and that's only got 40 horsepower, no torque, and you have to rev it to 16,000. This does everything. It sounds great. It's got proper tyres, the 180 section on the back. Just a great bike. And these CP2 motors, I loved them. It just reminds me of a Monster 1100, but it's only 690cc. The R7 name annoys me, and it annoys a lot of you, and I completely agree and understand. In actual fact, Yamaha don't officially call this an R7. In the manual, it's called a YZF-690 officially. So even Yamaha don't call it an R7, because I guess it just gets confusing. So what are my plans? Besides what I mentioned, the exhaust change, just the link pipe here. There's nothing wrong with the front system. I put the SC Project. This is not SC Project, the front pipe. But I will change this SC Project. It is a lovely, lovely bit of kit. Beautifully made. But I should learn my lesson. This is the third SC Project I had, and I always have issues with them. They always sound like shit. They do. I had it on Ducati. I've had it on two Ducatis. I had it on the 1100 Evo, and it was so bad, I sent it back to Italy, and they were very rude about it, saying, "Oh, I don't know why you don't like it. It's a race exhaust." And I go, "Yeah, race exhaust, but it sounds like farts. It just sounds like loud, horrible farts. There is no nice tone to it whatsoever." And that was the original CTR or CRT carbon. I've got a video of it somewhere. It just sounded awful. It was so loud, and not a good loud. And then when I got the Hypermotard, the 939, I put an SC on it again, and it was the same thing. It just sounded like shite, horrible sound. And I ended up getting like is it Ixil or something? And it just sounded so much better. Even with the baffles out, it just sounded so much better. SC projects are highly overrated. I do not recommend them, and the customer service from Italy is rude. I mean, I've still got an email saved. They are so rude. They are not friendly. They are stereotypically Italian. They're very proud of their product, and I don't know why they're proud, because they do not sound good. There's nothing good about having a shorty pipe on any bike, to be honest with you. But yeah. Actually, it kind of links back to this. I mean, this is now a 180cc, highly tuned, with a big valve head and a custom ECU. It is very trick, even though it looks very dirty right now. But this makes nearly 30 wheel. It's got Öhlins front and rear. It's got that flashy Yamaha style caliper. Can you see that? Yep. Got a radial brake there. And this exhaust, it's all a bit rusty now, but this is a full length exhaust. Now before I used to have a shorty, and the power delivery, well, there wasn't really much power delivery, to be honest. But when I changed to full length and I gave it a bit of a retune, because I can reprogram everything with an app, it's amazing. I wish I did that for more bikes. For singles, I guess it's simple. But when I remapped it, it was just so much better. More torque, more power, and less crap sound, like, you know, what singles sound like. But this revs to 12,500. It's got VVA, which is like VTEC, so 8,000 RPM. It kicks in like a two-stroke. Great bike. But yeah, there's no comparison, really. So yeah, that's my R7. You're probably wondering why this is all empty, because my car is getting finished, along with all the other cars all hidden deep over there. I've got a lot of space here. I've got a big house, 2 drives and a garage, so yeah, great bike. I'm going to go more into this if you're interested, because there's a lot of comparisons that need to be made. I nearly bought the Triumph Tried at 660. Half of me regrets the decision and half of me doesn't, because the Triumph was more expensive, and it is a great bike. Actually, it handles beautifully, it makes great sound, and it makes a little bit more peak power, and it's just the exhaust is a bit crap. But then again, so is this one from the factory, to be fair, but very cheap to fix. Very cheap. Over here I can get a full titanium system made up for like $800 custom, which I'm looking at developing one and dyno tuning, like the perfect setup for this engine. I do believe it's to be a longer can, what it needs to be. It'll look better too. I'm not a fan of these shorter cans. I mean, just to give you an example, so you're riding it, and your foot's here, and there you go. I mean, I've got big feet, but that's how I ride. And then my foot is right on it. And sometimes you can smell burning. So it's not a good location for the exhaust. It kind of needs to come inwards a little bit more, I think. I don't know. But it does the job. Looks great. It's very unique. No, not Mama. What do you think of the Yamama? She calls it Yamama, which is actually perfect because that's exactly what it says. It says Yamama. I did it as a joke. Just a joke. It's an old school joke. If you're old enough to remember RD 125s and 250s, TZRs, we used to do that to kids. You know, we used to take the H off and replace it with an M. One thing I miss is the ignition switch. They changed it. Can you see that there? It's just on, off, and press the button. Whereas if you go on an MT, I think these are way cooler. You got the ignition switch here, and you pull it down to start it. It's like a fighter jet. The only little modifications I got here is for the what do you call it? Paddock stand. The wheels on this are flow forged. They're not forged, but they're not cast. They're in between, or cast flowed, or whatever you want to call them. Which are nice, very trick. Yamaha put a lot of effort into this. It really doesn't feel like an MT. I love it. It feels like an air-cooled Ducati Supersport. Only it's reliable and doesn't overheat. Right, okay, that's me, that's done. This is my R7. The arsehole on YouTube has stole my clip of my exhaust. Gonna have to do a strike on him, I think, because I did ask him and he hasn't taken it down. That's mine. So let me know what you want to see or hear, what your thoughts are. I need to figure out the microphone in my helmet so I can do some riding impressions. But yeah, that's it for now. I know it's been a while. I've been busy with the little noisy lady in that chair there. Yes. Well, my name's Daddy, but, you know, close. Yeah? What's that? Yeah, what is it? What is it? Okay. Alright, I gotta go. I better feed her. And, yeah, thanks for watching. I'm still alive and kicking, despite people trying to make me not alive and kicking. In case you're wondering what that's all about, that's got to do with this piece of crap right here, which I've had to change for a Greddy because this thing's made out of absolute crap. And you know, I'm not naming any names, but I'm sure you can make out where that comes from. Yes, 2 letters. Okay, let's say goodbye. Say bye-bye.